Hello and welcome everyone. So now we will be discussing on few lessons that we have learned from past earthquake in the history, and those lessons are now being incorporated in the design of earthquake resistant buildings, and these lessons imparts ductility into the structure so that they can perform adequately. So if we see the idealized model of the building in which the lumped mass of the building is considered, so the lumped mass is located at the floor slabs and the stiffness of the building is being given by the columns. Okay. So time period is being given by this formula 2 pi into root under mass by stiffness. So if we want to increase the building time period, then there is two options. Either we can decrease the stiffness. Now stiffness K can be decreased by increasing the length of the column. So the larger the columns will be, the more flexible the structure will have, okay, columns, and stiffness will decrease and time period will increase. Similarly, another way is to increase the mass of the structure. So higher mass will lead to greater time period once again. Okay. So this time period is reciprocal to the frequency of the building. Okay. Both are reciprocal to each other. T is equal to 1 by frequency. Time period is the time needed to complete one full cycle of vibration back and forth during earthquake shaking. And frequency is what? The number of complete cycles of vibration that has happened in 1 second. So this is basic thing. So this building stiffness is very much related to the height of the building. Okay. Now it is written that height of a building is related to another important structural characteristic, that is building flexibility or stiffness. Stiffness is represented by K and flexibility can be represented by this, you can write this F also, okay, F also. So stiffness, formula of stiffness is generally written like 12 EI by LQ, okay, for one column. Okay. So here you can see that K is related to the length of the column, isn't it? K is directly proportional to the cube of the length of the columns. So height of a building will be related to this building stiffness also, and this stiffness and flexibility are reciprocal to each other. So if you see the phenomena of resonance, okay, in resonance what happens? The frequency content of the ground motion earthquake is close to building's natural frequency, okay, and in resonance the building response is amplified and the buildings suffer consequently the greatest damage from the ground motion at a frequency close or equal to its own natural frequency. Just like there are two buildings, one is a tall building and another is a short building. Tall building will be flexible and shorter building will be stiffer. Okay. So if we take up earthquake in the history, that is Mexico City earthquake of September 19, 1985, in that case majority of the buildings that collapsed were around 20 stories tall. Now why? Because the natural period of these 20 stories tall structure buildings were equal to 2 seconds, okay, whereas other buildings of different heights and different natural frequency were undamaged even though located right next to the damaged 20-story building. So it was observed that the natural period of the building, time period of the building, is related to the height of the building. Now height is related with the stiffness. So each building has its own natural period. So if you see a building height is of 2 story, then time period is 0.2 second. Generally time period is equal to height by 10 seconds. Alright. So if building height is 5 story, time period is 0.5 second. 20 story, 20 by 2 is 2 seconds, like this. So time period is 1 by 10 of the height. Height is in story, number of stories, and this value in second becomes the time period, and natural frequency can be calculated as 1 by time period. Simple. Okay, so higher the time period, slower is the shaking. All right, slower is the shaking, or lesser the frequency will become. Okay, so in the Mexico earthquake, what happened, that you see the natural time period of building was 2 seconds. Okay, this was natural time period, whereas the earthquake which was shaking the Mexico was also having the similar time period. So these structures, 20-story building structures, were damaged due to resonance, whereas other structure located nearby those damaged structure were not facing this resonance problem. So that's why this property has to be kept in mind, and this resonance has to be avoided somehow or other. So what are the other factors which affects the building performance and damage? So all these things are related to our previous discussion also, and there are many lessons which we have learned from the past also history. So first one is the shape or configuration of the building. So generally we prefer simpler plan. Okay, simpler plan like L, T, U, H plus O, or a combination of these. Okay, these plans perform better, and if the plan is complex, then we have to provide separation joint. Construction material are these steel, concrete, wood and brick. So we will discuss all the properties in the upcoming videos also. And concrete is the most widely used construction material, and the ductile materials perform better than the brittle ones. Okay, and ductile material are what? Steel and aluminum. Brittle material means bricks, stones, or the unreinforced concrete. So the height of the building also affects the performance, like as we have seen, the natural frequency is related with the height of the building, and previous earthquake damage in the history also affect intended function of the building, which purpose, for which purpose the building has been constructed, that is also included. Like the buildings, some buildings are given more importance, that's why importance factor is given, this I factor is given to some buildings. And proximity to other buildings, that is adjacency. Soil beneath the buildings, which type of soil on which the building is being constructed, is it the soft soil? So soft soil are very risky, or just artificial fill is there. Magnitude and duration of the earthquake, this is surely going to affect. Direction and frequency of shaking. Okay, so generally the direction perpendicular to a element will affect the performance of the element severely. Now the most important key factor that have been observed in the previous earthquake on the damage in the building, and the most important key factor in building performance have been observed, that it is good end connection. The end connections between different structural elements should be properly designed, because the load, inertia load, is being transferred from one element to another, and from another to the lower element, and like this it is transferred from top to bottom. So they have to be designed properly. Okay, and this load which we are talking here, this is inertia load from one structural element into the foundation and then to the ground. So if we take different structural element, and from the past earthquake history, it has been observed that diaphragms improves the performance of the structure. Diaphragms can be of two type. One can be either shear walls. Now we will discuss what is shear walls. They are RCC beams having the shape of a wall, and another is the trusses. Now trusses or braces. Okay, so these diaphragms are the 2D elements in the building, and they increase the lateral stiffness of the building. They increase the lateral load resistance to the building. Now by inducing a braced frame in the structure, what will happen? Now this, you can see, this is a bracing being done here, X bracing this is called. Now bracing can be, this is K bracing, okay, this is K bracing. Now bracing can be of different type, Z bracing, like that. So all these bracing or trusses increase the lateral load resistance, okay, and damage can occur only when braces buckle. So they are much more stiffer than the pure frame, okay. So this bracing increases the lateral load resistance, okay. Now in case of building system in which there are frames, so frames built up of beams and columns in which the elements can be of steel or concrete. So they also resist lateral load by bending of beams and columns. So we don't want to make a frame which is overly rigid. We want to make a frame which have sufficient bending is allowed in the frame, so that by bending the ductility of the frame is increased. And we have to provide lot of open interior spaces for, and the building should be flexible. Next is the soft first story, and we have discussed it that when first story is much less stiffer than the stories above, that is called soft first story. Now this is basically provided for parking reasons, all right. So the typical damage you can see, this is the collapse being shown here on the first story during earthquake, and these this is the soft story being shown here for the parking, and they are being severely affected during earthquake. So in the soft story, what happens, there is sudden decrease in stiffness, all right. You can see the entire mass of the building here, okay, and this entire mass of the building is can be compared here with this inverted pendulum. This is mass M and this is mass M. Now this mass M pendulum bob is being inverted on the columns. Now this is soft story. So a soft story make a building like an inverted pendulum, and during earthquake oscillation the soft ground story undergo larger displacement between foundation and the first floor, whereas on the stiff upper stories there is a smaller displacement between adjacent floors. So due to this, the softer story gets severely affected than the upper stories above the open ground story, okay. So this condition of inverted pendulum has to be avoided, okay. Now how this can be avoided? This can be avoided, the sudden decrease in stiffness can be avoided by avoiding open ground story problem at all. If we can provide some infill walls, now these infill walls made of masonry bricks provide sufficient lateral resistance, and the continuity of walls in ground story is preferred all the time, okay. And another way is, if we at all we have to provide open ground story building, then if our structure is like this, actual building is like this, then building has to be designed assuming like this, that infill walls are not at all considered in the upper stories. Now we have to design building like this, and if our building is sufficiently capable of resisting load, lateral load specifically in this case, then in this case also the building will be sufficiently perform very nicely during earthquake shaking. So these are the assumptions being made in the current design practices, although they are not much consistent with the actual structures. Next is the inducing shear walls in the building. These shear walls, and the shear walls are the wall elements designed to take vertical, but the main role is to take the in-plane horizontal lateral forces. In-plane horizontal lateral forces, okay. So the shear walls can be of concrete or wood or in masonry buildings. They can be used in any of these buildings. Now they resist lateral forces by shear deformation. just like this wall is here shown. Now this entire wall is made up of RCC, okay, and when some lateral force is being applied here of magnitude F, then they undergo shear deformation, and by shear deformation they resist the lateral force and they make the building stiffer, okay, but not rigid. Stiffer means high stiffness, but yeah, building is not rigid here. So shear walls get difficulty in shear walls performance when we provide some larger openings in the shear wall. So okay, so generally we want to provide smaller areas only of openings, because openings reduces the performance of shear walls, and due to resulting large stresses in these regions of opening, there is cracking in the shear walls around the openings, okay. So you can see the figure here, there are cracking in the shear wall, like this is the shear wall, this is again the shear wall, and near the openings there is cracking, okay. So you can see this figure of shear wall. This is RC shear wall being shown here in the plan, okay. The dark beams, like beam, earlier the beams are being shown or columns are shown here like this, but this wall, dark thick line in the plan being shown as shear walls. And if you see from the isometric view, this wall is the RC shear wall, means reinforced cement concrete shear wall, and they are provided in both direction, like if this is X direction and this is Y direction. So they are provided in both direction to resist the earthquake load in both the horizontal axis, okay. So shear walls are like vertically oriented wide beams that carry earthquake loads downward to the foundation, all right. Now we don't want that our shear walls is located unsymmetrically, okay. We don't want unsymmetric location of shear walls, okay. So we want that they are located symmetrically, okay. If this is the symmetry axis, then we want that they are located quite symmetrically, okay, in the plan, so that they can resist the lateral load properly, all right. Now this shear wall can have different shape. They can be RC hollow core around elevators. Now this is perfect example. I hope you must have seen these types of shear wall, and this shear wall is constructed around elevators or lifts. Now elevators are different from escalators. Escalators are the automatic staircases, okay. Elevator is, you understand, lifts. So around the lift you need not to provide opening on the three sides. This side no opening is required, no opening, no opening. Only opening is required in this side. So such a RC wall constructed around the elevator can be constructed properly shear wall, okay. Now the shape of the shear wall can be also C-shaped, okay, C-shaped or L-shaped or simple rectangular shape, okay. So these are the different geometries possible for the construction of shear walls, and this shear wall will also undergo a tension and compression, because the earthquake loading will apply like this laterally, and they will be in both direction basically. So sometimes this part will be under tension and this will be under compression, sometimes this will be under tension and this will be under compression. So they are also designed like beams only, okay, closely spaced confining reinforcement in boundary elements. And this is the cross section of all the details, reinforcement details being shown here, and the layout of all the main reinforcement bars is shown here in the shear wall as per IS 13920, that is ductile detailing codes, okay, for good seismic performance of shear walls. So now we come to the wooden material after discussing on the concrete. So wooden material is generally not very much prevalent in Indian scenario. They are generally prominent in the US as well as Euro countries. Generally they do not collapse because they have many interior walls. So generally wooden frame do not collapse, and there can be sliding off of the foundation generally in the building. Okay, and if you take a wooden frame construction, the most houses and low rise apartments in the America are made up of these wooden frames, and these are in themselves they are of shear wall type construction. They have lightweight. So lightweight, as soon as we say the building is having lightweight, so inertia force will be less in this case. So structure will not be affected much. They can sustain the Fi very easily, and they generally perform very well in earthquake. Wooden frame perform well in earthquake, and the damage often consists of cracking of plasters and stucco, and that can be repaired very easily. Okay, simple repair work is required. And main problem in the wooden frame damage is the cripple wall failure. Okay, and in cripple wall failure the problem is shown here like this. The house is being supported on cripple walls. Okay, you can see this if it is clear here, and during earthquake shaking the foundation moves like this, and finally the entire wall crumbles, but the house remain intact. And it is light. So the short walls that connect the foundation, the short walls, cripple walls are the short walls that connect foundation to floor base, which are common in the houses which were built before 1960. That is called cripple walls, and they generally collapse. And this collapsed cripple wall can be repaired, although it is not very easy. But yeah, they are difficult, and they have to be oriented properly to make the structure reorient in vertical axis. But yeah, this can be done. So the degree of damage to the structure is not much in comparison to the concrete structures. Okay, so this is all about the lessons of the building constructions from the past earthquake history in case of concrete buildings and wooden frame structures. And in the next video we will be discussing on the brick masonry as well as non-structural elements also. So till that, stay tuned and stay safe. Thank you.